Hi, I'm Chris Skinner and I'm here with Hedi Ezzaouaoui, who's a Director for the Financial Markets with Hewlett Packard. Hello, Hedi.
Hi.
In your presentation just now, you talked about Hewlett Packard's supply chain and some stunning figures of having over 300,000 employees, 200,000 partners. Perhaps you could just describe a little bit about what you are looking at when you talk about supply chain within Hewlett Packard.
Well, indeed, we are a large organization, and in fact, when we look at the supply chain, we need to look at the network of suppliers and distributors that help us make our business. And basically, there are three dimensions that are important for us. First of all, it's being able to have the resilience of the supply chain so that no actor in the chain will induce a problem in our chain. So we look at what are the single point of failure and whether there is some resilience, either from a production point of view or from a cash point of view. Second aspect is trying to optimize the supply chain. So we are looking at changing the payment condition, extending the payment conditions. However, in this crisis, we looked at extending payment condition can have a negative impact on the credit worthiness of our suppliers. So today we are looking at a mechanism where we would possibly finance ourselves some actors in the supply chain in order to help them go through the crisis. And finally, on the distribution side, we're also looking at the resilience of our distributors that are typically working with high revenue and very thin margin. So we are looking closely at managing those risks.
And with so many suppliers and partners and buyers and an extended supply chain, how do you manage that globally? I mean, is that a global central real-time operation, or do you see that being a multiple layer operation?
Yeah. What we have centralized services. We have many of those activities outsourced into our centers in Bangalore for account receivable, account payable. But we have local management, so typically credit collection is in the countries, and they are close to the customer, and so they can have a closer contact with the buyers. On the supply side, we have centralized operation per region, typically in the US, Europe, Asia Pacific.
And one of the comments made during the discussions this morning was that most corporates are looking for a local bank that has global reach. So when you look at the bank partnerships that Hewlett Packard's forging, I mean, what are you seeking in those partnerships?
The problem we have is that because we don't have uniform services from banks in countries, we have more than 500 banking relationships. So obviously some main operations are centralized on a couple of big actors, but in some countries their appetite to take some risk and to lend money to suppliers or to customers is very limited. So, so for this, what we are really hoping to find is more and more global players that will help us reduce the number of relationships we have. If we have a limited number of banks for the relationship, it's better. It's also better for the conditions, simplifying the operations, etc. So yes, we are looking for simplification. We don't want to be single bank, but not 500.
And does SEPA and the PSD help in that process, or how do you think the European landscape lies now that we're seeing these changes coming through?
I think that SEPA is a good idea, and the final objective of SEPA are positive for corporates, but so far you have the credit transfer which is implemented. It has not changed our life. The direct debit is still a discussion in the middle of the place, so nobody really takes leadership, while our real problem are the trade-related information, which is still not standardized and not transported through the banking systems. So yes, but we are still waiting for more benefits generated by SEPA.
Okay, and final couple of thoughts is that this is an annual summit. You and I have been at the Payment Summit for a few years now. This year is very much a focus around the doldrums in the financial markets and recovery, yeah. Along with SEPA, PSD, mobile. What do you think will be the sort of main headlines during the next year, and what do you think we might be talking about in 2010?
What we see more and more is that the banks are looking for innovation, trying to understand what are the new technologies, what are the change in behavior that will impact their model. For example, cloud computing is very high for the moment. The reason is that banks in the crisis realize that they have in-house some operation that they should not have. So I think we are going to see an evolution of a repositioning of the banks, defining what is core and what is non-core, and then the creation of some utilities on the market that will be real shared services for non-critical operations. And I think that cloud computing in finance could be a good topic for next year.
Cloud computing hasn't come up this year, but I think you're right. It's a big topic for next year. Hedi Ezzaouaoui, thank you very much.
Pleasure.